Welcome to Seize the Mains by Malhotra's IS Academy. I'm Surbhi Sardana and I'm taking this daily answer writing initiative from Monday to Friday at 9 pm. Today is the last lecture of Season 1 of Seize the Mains. We'll be starting with Season 2 from Monday onwards. Here we discuss UPSC mains level sample questions or previous year questions, and we tell you how to write good answers for them so that you can make it to the final list. The special part about this initiative is that you can send your answers to us and get evaluated by our experts entirely free of cost. So beginning with our today's discussion, it is day 28 and the topic for today is from GS paper 4, ethics case study. The schedule for the next 32 lectures, that is till day 60, will be available soon. So let's see what is the ethics case study. This is one of the previous year questions of UPSC mains. The commission asked this question in the previous mains, this year mains 2021. So this is quite a long case study. You can download the PDF and read it out for yourself. We are discussing a summary here, and we'll tell you that how to proceed with this case study by reading out the summary. So without further ado, let's see. There is an elevated corridor that has to be built above a road for reducing the congestion in the city, and there is one project manager who is very competent. Later on in the case study, you will be portrayed as the competent project manager. So the deadline is very near. The project has to be completed within the next few months because it has to be inaugurated by the chief minister before the next elections. Because this code of conduct gets into place and no new projects can be inaugurated when code of conduct is there. So the CM wants to inaugurate it before the election so that people can see the development that has been done in his tenure, and his vote bank can increase due to that. So the deadline is very near and the CM wants to inaugurate it at any cost. During some inspection, you realize that there is a minor crack in one of the piers and the material that has been used in the construction of that flyover is of poor quality. On a further inspection, you got to know that there has to be a replacement carried out of 3 piers, and after this replacement, the deadline of inauguration will have to be extended and the CM might not be able to inaugurate it on the decided date. So you go to the chief engineer and complain about this. You tell them that okay, the material is of poor quality. The chief engineer comes out to be somebody who is very dear to the CM. He is related to him, and the contractor is a relative of the CM himself. So what do? The chief engineer says that you should proceed with the project because the CM might not like it if there is any delay. And on the other hand, you have to see, because you have to see the safety of the people, because after inauguration, if the bridge collapses, a lot of lives will be lost, there would be a loss of public damage and cost overruns will be there. So after that, when you go through the personal assessment, after talking to the CE and not getting the requisite response in return, you do a personal assessment and you realize that the bridge is very risky, the flyover is very risky to be inaugurated, and a lot of changes have to be made before it can be finally be available to the public because it's very risky. So what do you do now? On one hand, it's your personal interest. They have also told you that your promotion is dependent on the completion of this project. If you complete this project on time, so they are thinking of promoting you to a higher place, to a higher position for the next project itself. So what do? You either complete it on time, or you complain to the CM or to the higher authorities and receive the irk of all the people, or what are the options available before you. So let's see what is the question. So under the given conditions, what are options available to you as a project manager? What are the ethical dilemmas being faced by the project manager? What are the professional challenges likely to be faced by the project manager and his response to overcome such challenges? So what can be the consequences of overlooking the observation raised by the inspecting team? So if you go ahead with the project, what can be the consequences? First of all, we'll begin with what are the options available to you. See, in any case study, even if options are not asked, you'll have to list down the ethical dilemmas that are involved, the stakeholders that are involved, and the options available to you, and then you'll have to choose one of them. So after choosing one of them, you can go forward by discussing the consequences of it. So the structure of answering all the case studies remains the same, but every case study has to be dealt with differently. If explicitly some part has been asked in the question, so you'll have to mention it separately. So body paragraph tips for case studies we discussed in the previous case study also, that the first rule, thumb rule for case studies is that you have to handle case studies objectively and not emotionally. Take every part of the case study as a mathematical equation and solve it there and then. Don't involve your emotions. Oh, my promotion would be stopped, or you know, I would be transferred somewhere else. Don't involve those emotions. When real life situations occur, you can see what are the options available before you, but while answering these questions, just see what is the best possible way out. So give a quick reading and underline the important points of case study. If you can come up with summaries like this for the case study, this will help you solve the case study very easily. Or even if you cannot come out with summary, go through the question, underline the keywords on the question paper itself. So as I said, every problematic part has to be addressed, and you must always come up with 3 options. The first one will be the ideal or the best option that we have. It will address the interest of all the stakeholders. It will ensure the ideals of constitution and the benefit of the people. Here you will also give how you will handle the issues involved, the issue of your promotion, the issue of the elections coming near, and the wantedness of CM to inaugurate it as early as possible. So you will address those issues side by side. The second option, because it has to be given, it should be partially reasonable. These options mostly include that, okay, I'll seek for a transfer, or I'll seek for a written order, things like that. So the third option has to be entirely rejected. This should be least explained. The most elaborated option should be this one, first one, that is your ideal approach. So write pros and cons for each, and the rest is like give philosophical basis, take examples. For example, for this flyover question which has to be there, there was a recent flyover in Cuttack which collapsed. There was a collapse of a flyover in Kolkata and Ahmedabad recently in the past 2-3 months. So give those examples, use them in your introduction, and go through those news paragraphs, that what are the issues underlying behind these, and write them in your answers. Again, learn from the examples of IAS officers who have been working in such areas or in such situations, and what are the solutions that they came out with. Moving on, the structure of your answer, first thing has to be, see, introduction part will never be asked in your case study. You will never be asked by the question that give an introduction, but you have to talk about the issue that has been talked about in the question, at least in 2 to 3 lines. So give an introduction, talk about the context, explain the general nature of the issue of the question. So this question concerns about the flyover and the poor material used, the nexus between the contractor and the political leader. So talk about that, give examples there, and always in your case studies, even if it is not asked, explicitly mention what are the stakeholders involved and what are the ethical issues involved. This will not only get you more marks, but it will sort out so many things for you. While writing your body paragraph, you will know that what are the parties that you have to talk about in your answer. So list the options, 3 options as we talked about. You can have 3 or more, but 3 are like, one is like entirely rejectable, one is seemingly possible, and third one is the balanced approach and something that stands by the ideals of constitution. Take your stand and then conclude by a way forward, or how can things be improved. Always learn from examples from IAS officers or any thinkers or political leaders of past times that you can quote. Never quote recent political leaders, because you never know what is the ideology of the examiner who's checking your answers. So never quote recent political leaders. There have been many political terms that we've been seeing in answers, like explicit name of political leaders, this minister or this minister used the term Amrit Kal, for example. Don't use such terms. Never use any political terms or political names. So here in the introduction, we generally talk about the collapsing of bridges or collapsing of flyovers, and what is the situation all about. Every year we see so many of these constructed flyovers coming down, and what is the reason. So generally talking about, the above case study depicts how public infrastructure works are at times compromised by the main stakeholders due to a variety of reasons. We have seen many such projects collapsing while in use by the public, as in the case of recent Cuttack flyover collapse a few days back. So it's there in the Google News column. Before your mains paper, just go through the Google News column and see what are the issues happening where IAS officers or administrative officers were involved, and see the recent news and if you can quote them in your case studies. So such situations present a variety of ethical dilemmas, especially to the administrative officers involved, and these administrative officers are responsible for the future of the country. Their personal interest, professional interest, and their ethics are always in competition, and it's entirely dependent on these IS officers or administrative officers that what is the stand that they take, because that is how the country runs. The future depends on the single decision, the decision taken in few minutes or few days by these officers. So here are the following stakeholders that are involved. What are the stakeholders? First of all, the stakeholder is the project manager himself. The second is the one he's reported to. He's told the chief engineer that these are the problems with the project and we cannot go forward. So second one is the chief engineer, and the chief engineer is the one who told him that we are looking for a promotion for you, and the contractor is a relative of the CM. So the third is the CM and the leaders of his party, because it is an election gamut. It has to be inaugurated, the bridge has to be inaugurated before the election so that CM can win the next elections. So CM and leaders of his party, their political interest, they are the third stakeholder, and the fourth are the citizens of that constituency who pay taxes to get such things built and such amenities to be available for them. So citizens of that constituency, their safety, their interest, their resources, the money that they've given as taxes, the labor that they've put in, they are the fourth stakeholder. So moving on, let's see what are the ethical dilemmas options available, which is the first question, which is the first part of the question. Let's see here, under the given conditions, what are the options available to you as a project manager? If you are the project manager, what are the options available? So instead of 3, we have written here 4 options. The first option is that you can let the work go on as it is going on, because that way you will get your promotion. So that will benefit it, and your competence will not be questioned. The bridge can be inaugurated, the flyover can be inaugurated at the pre-decided date in the requisite time. So I can opt for either you can opt to continue with the work and let everything happen as planned, as your superior, the chief engineer, has overruled the observations of the inspecting team. This is the most rejectable option. Because why? Safety of people is involved and you are a public officer. So you cannot compromise with the safety of people, but this option has to be given, and your conscience will always be in question if you let this happen. So conscience is tested through interview and this ethics paper, and you cannot take a stand which is anti-people or anti-public. So this option is the most rejectable one. Or side by side, what you can add is that you can ask from a written order from the chief engineer itself. But will that happen? He's your superior. Will he give in a written order that whatever happens, I'll take the blame for it? He'll never do that. So in reality, that's not possible. The second part is that you can seek a transfer or you can take a leave for some time, because it doesn't agree with your conscience to let the project continue, and the chief engineer doesn't agree with your viewpoint. He says the investigating team is fraud, whatever they are saying is not true, let the project continue, nothing will happen, we'll see whatever happens later on. So since this is not in consonance with your conscience, you don't agree to compromise the safety of the people, so either you can seek a transfer that I don't want to continue with this project, or you can go on a leave. But what about your ethical responsibility? What about your pledge that you take before joining the office? What about your public ethics? What about your public service values? So that is an escapist attitude. This has to be avoided. So let me read this out for you. As I believe that the quality of the project is compromised and have made my reservations about the same clear to my superiors, I can request my transfer from the project or take leave to avoid the responsibility in case of a contingency, to avoid the responsibility. So the third one is that you can present an adverse report on the project. You can choose to include this point or entirely reject this point, that give an adverse report, and then invite anger of all the stakeholders involved, anger of the chief minister, the chief engineer, all the political leaders. So that is something that has to be avoided. If you are like very strong-headed, you can take this approach. Many officers have been taking this approach, but will the project be at halt by taking this approach? So that is a question you need to ask yourself. We personally recommend that you don't go for this approach, especially in your ethics answers. In real life, you can take this approach, present an adverse report when you join the services and you face a certain kind of situation in life. But in ethics answer, keep to the final option that we'll discuss now. The fourth answer is, the fourth approach is the middle part. The bridge cannot be inaugurated, that is for sure. The bridge cannot be made available to the public. So what you can do is, you can involve a third party for research, or you can prepare a detailed report, send it to the chief minister or the political leaders involved, give it to the chief engineer himself, and come out with an answer from your side that yes, inauguration can take place on the stipulated date, but don't make it available to the public. Make it available to the public after the elections. So during that time, whatever the ramifications have to be made in the construction material or the piers that have to be replaced, that can be done in that time. So you can do further survey into the problem and try to convince the chief engineer and bring it into the notice of the senior political leadership or the CM himself. And how will you nudge the CM? It is not easy to nudge political leaders. They are there for winning the elections, especially when elections are approaching. Will they listen to you? But just tell them that if the bridge collapses, so the government might face repercussions if they are in power, or if they're not in power, their vote bank might reduce considerably if the bridge collapses or any loss occurs. So you'll have to nudge them here, you'll have to convince people here after presenting a detailed report or a research done by a third party. So if the bridge fails after inauguration, then the vote bank of the CM might suffer. Inauguration can take place as planned, but the bridge can become operational and at a later date. So whenever you are whenever you're putting a solution out there, whenever you're raising a question, make sure that you have tailor-made solutions for a particular situation that makes your option more reasonable, that makes you a more competent IAS officer, and there is a high probability that your seniors will listen to you. So moving on to the next part of the question asked us that what are the ethical dilemmas involved. That was the second part of the question. So what are the ethical dilemmas involved? One side you have a promotion pending if you complete the project on time, if you let the CM inaugurate it. On the other hand, there is safety of people. So there is the first ethical dilemma is your personal interest versus the public interest. So going ahead with the project will give a short promotion. However, it could possibly put the life of many citizens into severe jeopardy. The second one is ends versus means. So this is an ever-going debate, or administrative ethics versus work efficiency. So your ethics are involved as an administrator, and work efficiency. What about work efficiency? That if you delay the project, if you delay the inauguration or the completion of project, and you are the only person responsible for that delay. So that ends versus means, how that thing is obtained, how what are the processes carried out, whether you could ignore it, whether you could complete the project on time, or you could have delayed it. So that is something that is that's in question. While going ahead with the project will fulfill the end of timely inauguration and your promotion, it will destroy the purity of means involved. So the means are not correct, whether the bridge fails after a few months, few days, or few years. It is your administrative ethics, it is your personal ethics that are there in question, because the means employed by you are not pure. So moving on, cost versus quality of service. So since the project will be delayed, your quality of service will be compromised, but the cost in the long run and short run, there is a dilemma. The short run cost and the long run cost and the quality of service that has to be available. So while demolishing the three pillars will add to cost and time overrun of the project, more so when it is deemed fit by the chief engineer. Continuing on the other hand will compromise the quality of service delivery. So these are the three ethical dilemmas involved. If you think that there is some other ethical dilemma involved, or you can just rephrase these terms in red into some other phrases or some keywords, go forward, go ahead with that. Be sure, use the correct terminology, but be confident about whatever you are using. So that's always correct. Ethics answers, they're never wrong. There is always a competition between more relevant and less relevant content when it comes to ethics answer, but they're never wrong. No content is wrong in ethics. The third part of the question talks about what are the professional challenges that will be faced by the project manager. The first one is the pressure from superiors. The second one is the pressure from political leaders or the political party involved. So pressure from superiors to continue the work with the same tempo, because not everyone wants to come under this blanket of delaying the project and receiving the irk of political leaders. So the second one is political pressure. You might receive direct calls from the political party or the leaders involved there that do it by any ways possible, any means possible. We don't care about what's going to happen. Elections are approaching. So the contractor is a relative of the minister. The CM intends to inaugurate the project before the elections. So since he's a relative, that contractor has been using poor quality material. So how do you, make out your way through this political nexus or this nexus of contractor and the CM? So he's a relative there. Present your report. This is the second kind of professional challenge that you face here. Your job might also be in danger. You might be transferred without even asking. So the third is about career progression. Since there was a promotion involved after the completion of this project, this was a very important project, so that promotion might be stopped for some time. The fourth one is responsibility and accountability. If the bridge fails, like recently talking about this Cuttack bridge that has failed, the Cuttack flyover, so the NHAI, National Highway Authorities of India, it's conducting a probe into the situation. So whenever an investigation is conducted, who is the first person responsible? The IAS officer involved, or the administrative or the project manager involved. That is the person who's called for investigation in the first place. The contractor builds the bridge and they're gone. The contractor might even demolish his own company, that after building one bridge, they might launch some other company. But the administrative officer involved, he is responsible for the interest of the public. So that responsibility and accountability is entirely on your shoulders. And if the bridge falls down, there are high chances that the political leaders, the chief engineer and the contractor may lay the blame entirely on you. So in case the bridge collapses, the project manager will be liable for a departmental judicial inquiry. Competency will be questioned. The fifth one is corruption. Poor material is being used. The bridge might collapse. Interest of people is not being acknowledged. So, and it might, if you let this project pass, other officers might be motivated to do the same. That any kind of discrepancy, any kind of problems that are there that have been recognized during the project, they might not be taken into consideration, and there would be so many risky projects that would be made open to the public. So as the material used was of poor quality, the project manager faces the challenge of tackling corruption in his department. The ultimate accountability is on project manager, the challenge of tackling corruption in his department in future. So these are the 5 broad professional challenges. Make sure that you come up with any other professional challenge from your side also. These are the 5 broad ones that we could come up with, and since it's a team effort of answer writing for mains, so make sure that when you're writing your own answer, you empathize with that project manager, put him in his shoes, and try to see that what is the new professional kind of challenge that could be erupted. The fourth part of the question talks about how can the project manager overcome these challenges. So how can you overcome it? We have recently talked about that you can involve a third party, you can present a report, you can nudge the CM, you can talk about the long-term losses, and so presenting a detailed report on his assessment and sending a copy of the report each to the CM, concerned minister, chief engineer, chief secretary and the vigilance officer of the state. This is something that should be the ideal approach. This is the option available with you. When everything is there in black and white, so you are sorted from your end that yes, a discrepancy has been found and this project should not be carried out. So conducting an inquiry into the quality of the material used and sending a show cause notice to the concerned person in case of an anomaly. A bold step, but quite needed one. Bold but needed, because that person is related to the CM, but the material that he's using is of very poor quality, and not only those 3 piers which are having problem, the entire bridge will be made of poor quality and it will fall anytime, especially during the monsoon season. So the third part is that involve a third party for inspection, for conducting an independent survey on the fitness or health of the corridor. See, there are many agencies which carry out environmental impact assessment also, and during the project also, there are many third parties which voluntarily come up. There are so many institutes, IIT Delhi for example, they carry out their own research on like developmental projects or the climate change things, aspects of things. So many institutes can be involved, third parties can be involved, many NGOs working in this direction who have such research experience can be involved, and it could be brought to notice of all the people that according to them this is not something that should be made available to the public. So we've addressed all the 4 parts of the question. Now let's see what can be the conclusion built around it. But before that, the question also does ask us that if you don't take the options, the ideal options as as your option, then what will be the consequences of overlooking the details of the that defect? So the consequences of overlooking the observations of this inspecting team would be, first of all, danger to the public, as the corridor might collapse, which could cause severe damage to the life, limbs and property of citizens. The second one is that cost, financial cost or economic cost, and the cost in terms of time, that would be higher than before. So cost and a bigger cost and time overrun will be there, as the whole project will have to be started again. And the third is for the political party, for the CM himself, because it will bring a bad name to him, because loss of life for people, loss of limbs or loss of all this money that was involved there, it will bring a bad name to the CM, and whether he is in power or before elections, that that would severely impact his vote bank. So the failure of the project will bring bad name to the department and to the political leadership of the state, might affect the CM adversely. The fourth is that it might result in promoting nepotism, because the contractor is related to the CM, and you feeling demotivated or you falling in the nexus, you following their directions might result in nepotism and further corruption in your department. We've already discussed this before, but since the question asks us to discuss it separately, so we've written it here again. So overlooking the observations of the inspecting team will also mean going easy on the issue of poor quality of material used in the project. This complete deviation from the standards might result in setting a bad precedent, and hence motivating other people to pass such projects without proper approvals. Moving on to the conclusion now. So what can be the conclusion? See, what happens in these flyovers or bridges, in the case of these, is whatever a contractor is involved, who makes the project for the government, and whatever is signed in black and white, that this will be the quality of material used, or this is the material that I am using here, that material gets replaced while the project is being carried out. So it happens many a times, and there are many popular companies or contractors involved who have been given contracts of most of the popular projects. If you see, like, there are just 2 to 5 companies that are involved all over India for carrying out such projects, and such projects, when they fail after a few months or a lot of years. By that time the contractor has taken his money and he's gone. So we'll have to put a system of checks and balances in place. Regular inspection has to be carried out, and further contracts of such contractors have to be halted till the investigation is complete, or they have to be nullified completely. So let's see what is the conclusion for today. Many a times the same company or contractor is given the charge of multiple projects. We've seen many bridges coming down and causing immense loss of life and property. It's imperative to ensure a system of regular surveillance for such parties. Also, just like the above case study, the administrative officers in charge have the biggest role to play in ensuring safety of people, because they are the ones who know about the details of the project, of the on-ground details of the project. They are the first ones to know about that. So their choices decide the future consequences. So you might want to skip introduction and conclusion in your ethics answers entirely, because this is not what is asked. There are 4 or 5 parts to every question, every ethics question. The question already goes to 250 words word limit or beyond that. But you'll have to present a body structure to the examiner, so that he knows that yes, you are a learned person. So introduction and conclusion are very important. For that to happen, you'll have to take examples from the newspapers that you are reading. Write them, whatever you go through in your local newspaper column or the national newspaper that you are reading. Just see, reflect on the newspaper you've read today, and see that can you quote some examples from the newspaper of today or yesterday, and write them separately on a page, or maintain a separate diary or notebook for examples in ethics, and see, like, after a bridge collapses, what is the kind of investigation that is being carried out, and how efficient is it. So include that part in your answers, and that will only benefit you for your mains exam. That will only this is the only thing that will get you more marks in your ethics answers. So this question has been discussed with a 360-degree approach. Send your answers to us within the next 24 hours, that is by 9 PM of 18th March. It's Holi, so we are giving a 1-day extension that you can send it by this weekend, 9 PM of any day for this weekend. We are taking it till Sunday. From Monday onwards, we're starting with season 2 of Daily Answer Writing Initiative. We're coming up with a schedule. It will be available on our Telegram channel, and we'll continue this initiative till 1 month before prelims, that is till May 3rd or May 4th. So stay tuned with us, keep writing, and devote some part of your day to mains answer writing also, because this is the part that will help you get to the final list. And for tomorrow, we are taking a discussion class on, like, we'll address the questions that we've received from your side. It would be a very short discussion, and we'll tell you how to balance your prelims and mains preparation during these times when prelims is so near. So all the best, keep working hard, and share your answers with us.